Continuing face-off over the UGC draft guidelines that states like Tamil Nadu and Kerala have taken the lead and strongly opposed and demanded withdrawal. The core objection is over proposed changes to the process to appoint vice-chancellors, as the draft guidelines curb the state government's powers to appoint search committees and vice-chancellors. DMK chief and Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin had taken the lead in the battle against the centre on those draft guidelines and has alleged that it violates federal principles and the interests of the state. Kerala too, remember, has taken a similar stand, and other opposition rule states are likely to follow suit. Stalin reiterated his position today, asking why governors should be chancellors and why the centre should have the powers to decide on vice-chancellors, when he asks it's the state governments that pay the salaries and administer the institutions. Listen in. So is this another proof that vice-chancellor appointments to top institutions is more a political and ideological assertion rather than being about academics, education and interests of the institutions? Joining me this evening, a distinguished panel of academics who have diverse political views and are at the helm of noted institutions. Professor Sanjeev Tiwari of the Maharaja Agarsen College, Dr. Furqan Qamar, former Vice-Chancellor of the University of Rajasthan, currently with Jamia Millia Islamia, and Dr. Sandeep Shastri, Vice President of the Nite Education Trust. My first question to you, Dr. Furqan, the core reason for the political tussle over the power to appoint VCs is because the post has become more about political control rather than about merit or education.
You may be right. It may be more about the political turf. But I think it is largely because of the lack of coordination and communication. We should remember that India is a union of states, and higher education is in the concurrent list. Both the union government and the state governments can enact legislations. And we should remember that the union list includes coordination and maintenance of standards. It is not about impositions of standards. So I think UGC has been going overboard. They should have been consulting these states. They should have been contacting them, communicating with them, bringing them on board, and this is possible. And we are seeing that over the past so many years, there have been issues like this. Appointment of vice-chancellors is just one of them. Before the implementation of NEP, we saw a similar thing. So it is lack of coordination and communication, and it is more about impositions. Remember, Raghav, one thing, that out of 1,100 universities that we have in our country, only 54 are established by the Central Act. The rest, or maybe another 85, are the institutions deemed to be universities. The rest are state universities established by state laws. Now, no change can be effective unless these acts are amended. And unless you take states into confidence, they are not going to amend their acts. And as a result, what will happen is that these decisions would never be implemented, and ultimately universities would be at a losing ends. For example, they will be in limbo. Now, people would say that, okay, you are not following UGC regulation, and the state says that I don't amend the legislations. So increase the communication, don't impose, take them into confidence, take rational decision making, don't issue too many regulations too frequently.
Professor Sanjeev Tiwari, Dr. Furqan making a very important point, saying this is more about coordination. The centre and states should work together in ensuring that the interests of institutions are kept as the prime focus. Instead, is a political ideological tussle and assertion of political power becoming the reason for this tussle between states and central governments?
It's not basically regarding the ideological imposition of the center over the state. Basically, it's one of the draft of the new UGC regulation which came out on the 6th of January this month. Still, the different stakeholders, they are having the time of entire 1 month to give their responses, and on the basis of those responses which will be received by the UGC, this draft resolution will be finalized and it will be approved. I think that it's very prior place or time to react on this. As far as the appointment of the vice chancellors are concerned and the power of the governor or the chancellor is concerned, it is not new. This tussle has been taking place since the days of the Jayalalitha, as far as Tamil Nadu is concerned. At that time, in the center, the Congress was in the power. And that time, the governor's powers were taken away by the state legislative assembly. Similar was the thing in the different other states, like in the state of Kerala or in the state of West Bengal, where the different sort of or the different ideologies are there in this at the center and in the state. I think that as far as the partiality is concerned, impartiality is concerned, the quality of education in the higher education is concerned, this is more and more concerned of the UGC, and that is why the UGC is making the regular draft or regulations for the purpose of improving the quality of the education and the appointment of the vice chancellors. Of course, there are certain issues which could be resolved in the coming months after getting the response from the different stakeholders like the teachers, the students, and even the individual teachers' body. They are also responding to that. It's very unfortunate that the different political parties, they are trying to create it a question of the federal question and the struggle between the center and state.
No, while you say that, the argument, Professor Sandeep Shastri, that a state like Tamil Nadu is putting out is that this draft guidelines technically takes away the power of the state government to appoint vice chancellors, and the governor should act only on the instructions of the cabinet, and that's the federal principle. Stalin even asks, when state governments are paying the salaries, why should the center have a role in choosing the vice chancellor? Where do you weigh in on this debate?
Veera, the most recent controversy is linked to developments that have taken place for quite some time now, especially in states where a different party is in power at the center and the states. This has become a huge controversy because of the fact that governors have been appointees of the central government and governors have been acting on the aid and advice of the center rather than the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers in the state, especially on matters of formation of the selection committees and the like. Therefore, you have the case of Tamil Nadu where many universities don't have vice chancellors. This is also true of Karnataka. So that's point number one. It is caught in the tussle between the center and the state with regard to who should control. My second point is this, Veera, that an important institution like a university, an important institution of higher education, is being caught in the crossfire of politics and political factors. And I think it's an open secret that political factors and political considerations today define and decide who should become the vice chancellor of a university. And third and last, Veera, I would plead very strongly for a non-political process in the appointment of vice chancellors. Even Stalin calls or talks about we need to control the process. I think nobody should control the process. We are looking at the best people in academics to manage the universities, and this should be done by a committee of experts who have nothing to do or have no and are not appointed for political purposes. That, I think, is what will rescue the leadership of universities from political control.
Absolutely, point taken. I have very limited time, just about a minute left on the show now. Professor Sanjeev Tiwari, very briefly, in 30 seconds, do you see this confrontation intensifying, or do you believe that there could be greater coordination between the two sides, as Dr. Furqan is saying there must be?
Of course, there is certain mandates given to the UGC, and what the UGC is doing, it has already been mandated by the Parliament of the country. As far as the coordination is concerned, of course, coordination is required between the center and state. But trying to write the state governments to pass the resolution where The non-BJP state governments are there like Delhi, Himachal Pradesh, Karnataka, Jharkhand, Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab, Telangana, Bengal and Kerala. What it shows? It shows
Okay.
that somebody wants to politicize the issues of this appointment
Dr.
of the vice
Furqan, last
chancellor.
point from you. Last word to you.
No, I will say the things are otherwise. It is the opposition states which are asserting, and it is the other states which are ruled by the same dispensation by which the center is being ruled are succumbing or yielding to the pressure. I think the role given to University Grants Commission is to coordinate and maintain standards. Nowhere it says that they should unilaterally improve. And it is the erosion of the confidence and the trust that is leading to these kinds of situations, which is not good for higher education and not good for the nation.
On that point, on that note, it's a very important note. We'll have to end this conversation, but we'll keep a focus on this issue, which has been simmering and blowing up for a while now.